We'll get into the funny story about how I quasi was introduced to you in a second.
It was wild.
You know, it sucks that it worked out that way, but we'll let everybody in on the secret here shortly.
For sure.
How long have you been tattooing for?
In February, it'll be 16 years.
And during that time, you started on the East Coast in the New Jersey, New York area, correct?
Correct.
Where was the first shop that you worked at?
The first shop I worked at was Inner City Tattoo, which is located in Elizabeth, New Jersey. And that is the sister shop to Ron and Dave's out on the island.
Did not know that. Okay, cool. Elizabeth, tough neighborhood.
I wanted it really fucking bad because I didn't live out in Elizabeth. I lived out in Edgewater and in Queens, but that's where the job offer came, and I was like, fuck it, I'm getting on the train every day. I'll go out to this place and dodge bullets. And I was like a serious party person then, so I was like always drunk or on some kind of controlled substance. So after a while when you're doing that, it's like none of this matters. Every tattoo shop was like that, right? It was like, if you want it, you got to work in the neighborhood. You know, that's any kind of old school shop. Pete and Kubo's, where Ronnie was working, where Polito was working. You know what I mean? This guy worked behind bulletproof glass.
Yeah.
It was just a part of the game back then.
Yeah, Richie and I talked about that. And, you know, because I was always told about Polito working behind the bulletproof glass. And he was like, well, yeah, kind of. Like he was trying to kind of soften it, and I was like, no, dude, it was bulletproof glass. I mean, but the way he explained it was like, you know, the way it was set up wasn't like the whole thing was, and
it was like a little box, yeah,
and I get
so
it.
People could look in.
I said, but that's still regular shops don't have that. I mean, I've been in some pretty rough biker shops, and they didn't have that. But
they don't.
I guess the other part of that is if it's a rough biker shop, you'd have to be pretty stupid to start some shit in there. But
to even try it, correct. And what's funny about that is a shop I worked at before I opened up my private studio, Classic Tattoo. I was able to convince the owner to like cut a hole in the wall so that we could kind of spy on people. And so we made it like cut the hole in the wall and we put a picture on the front of it, and like the picture had rolling wheels, so you could just like. Okay. And I was very inspired by that old school window thing. I was like, we need some we got to do something. We could just stick it out there, and it never had to happen, but we wanted it really bad.
So when you were going through your apprenticeship, though, that was at the Elizabeth shop? Yeah,
I think apprenticeship is a stretch, but it was definitely a mentorship. I was hired and they understood that I was a young tattooer, hadn't been tattooing very long. And that's what John wanted. He wanted somebody who was wet behind the ears, that he could mold into this like machine, you know, without having to undo a lot of bullshit. He wanted someone with an unformed ego. And I was that person.
When we talk about future state, we'll get into the ego thing, but
I'm so ready.
we're not gonna piss on anybody, but we're gonna definitely discuss it.
I'll do my best.
Feel free.
Okay.
I know that because I did a little homework on you. You worked there for like a short spell, right?
Oh yeah.
And
it was less than 2 years.
You started doing like a little road tripping, became like a road warrior.
Yeah, that came a little bit later after I was fired from Inner City Tattoo. I got fired because it was rough there. And I was left to like close up the shop by myself. And so I'm closing up in Elizabeth, 9:00. I'm on a second floor walk up. You can't see from the outside. There's no fire escape. And people would come in there and they're bullshit. And I was like, I'm afraid someone's going to rob me, you know? And John was like, listen, if you can't handle it, you can't fucking work here. Like, toughen up, Cookie. And I was like, fuck you. And so he was like, take all your shit, get it out of there, put all the ink I gave you in a box, like put the key. And I mean, we are best friends now, but that didn't work out. But whatever. Character building. So after that, I went to work at this crazy Polish biker shop in Jamaica, Queens. And I got fired from there too. Just because I don't take nobody's shit. I don't fucking care. And after that happened, I was like, fuck it. Like, I'm not getting the education that I need, but it's because I'm not in the right places. And as I had been doing conventions over those past 2.5 years, a lot of people said, yo, when you're out on the road, come see me, come visit me. There's a seat for you. And I just called in all those receipts all at the same time. I just took the little bit of money I had, and which was probably like $1,000, bought a plane ticket out to the West Coast and traveled by train, guessing at each shop until I made it home. Because I was like, I'm either going to make it or I'm not. You know, it meant that much to me.
Yeah, so you definitely had the drive. Everything I've seen about you spells that out like 1,000%. And
Thank you.
Like I said, I did a little homework on you. You know, I found out today that you worked with Vyvyn.
Oh yeah, I used to guess at her shop.
How was that experience?
Awesome. She's a fairy, you know. She's very wispy and painterly and telling you stories about her cats, and you know. But also underneath that, when you're talking to her, you recognize how fucking tough she is, having been one of the first like openly fully tattooed women at the time with the sleeves, you know, so she understands discrimination and likes to harbor spaces for women. And you know, I love it because all of that painterly stuff that she does, people hated on it. That shit won't last, and it did, and she's still doing it, you know. So yeah, working with her, and I got to work with her through Sarah Purr. Sarah Purr is another amazing traditional female tattooer, and she linked us up together.
Okay. I know Bert Rodriguez, Jay Brown from Northwest Tattoo Museum, like speaks so highly of her. And
she's beautiful.
You know, I finally started following her. We connected on Instagram. I've talked to her a couple times.
Good.
You know, that would be somebody I would love to, you know, pick her brain a little bit too, because she's seen a lot. And
yes. Brought in by Danny Dietzel.
Yeah, amazing, right? So Danny's one of those guys I think later down the road I'd like to try to do a full episode. Like I do history episodes. That'd be great. I try to like the maybe even not big name people, but just recognized tattoo artists. A lot of them happen to be tattoo artists, I like to call them. So maybe they're not as well known outside the circle.
Right.
And he's one of those guys that to me it seems pretty interesting. Is that when you went back east, or did you continue down the West Coast?
I continued down. So on that trip, I worked with Vyvyn. I worked at Old Gold with Chu Garcia. I worked at Sacramento with Gill Montie and Cousin Bill. And then I ran out of money. And then I was like laying low in San Diego, and I had like called Kathy Monty, and I was like, I know you guys used to have like some shit in Texas, like let me go there. And she's like, nah, don't do that. Figure something else out. So I got in touch with another one of my friends, Dick, who now works in Berlin. And he worked at Classic Tattoo in San Marcos. And that was like the closest place that I could get to with the last little bit of money I had. So, and Andrea Ketchum, worked there. So I was like, oh, good. It's got the credentials. I'll show up. And I showed up there and I worked a weekend and I made like $1,000. And that was unheard of then. And I was like, yeah, this is the shit. But around that time is when I was talking to Richie, and he knew what I was trying to do. So he was like, hey, there's a spot open at Pete Hubo's. I talked to these guys for you. If you can come back home, I guarantee you a spot here, and you're going to get the real deal.
Okay.
That's how I went back home.
Cool. So then you came back east and worked with Pete Giaquinto.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm sure Ronnie was around.
Yeah, every Sunday.
Yeah.
He's the best. I love Uncle Ronnie.
Yeah, I got a soft spot for Ronnie. Who doesn't? He's a good dude. Yeah. I wished it was busier for him up there in
Me too.
Strasbourg, but you know, he's still chugging along doing his thing.
He is.
I never got to meet Pete, but what was it like working with Pete?
Awesome. He was, if you think Ronnie's cool, Pete was like, oh, I don't even know, because they were best friends. So they were very similar in terms of the way they were. They talk like this, and they're going to tell you a story about when they sung songs in the subway in a doo-wop group. It's so good. But Pete was known as the king of Queens, and that was true. He was a prolific tattooer. You know, he was one of the first tattooers I saw draw dragons on people. You know, his flash was top notch. You know, he would tell stories about he met Ed Hardy, and like Ed Hardy thought like, oh, you're like so much better than me, bowing down. And people always talk about that. But yeah, he was something to meet. He was very old school for sure, you know, but he would allow a younger tattooer like me to interpret things my own way, you know? And he just might bust your balls about it. The Pete and Kubas was all about getting your balls busted 24/7, you know, and I'd walk in and he'd be like, you know, in my day, you couldn't just walk into the shop wearing someone else's fucking shirt. Why you advertising the guy down the street? Why you guys all friends? It's like, I don't know. That's my friend. You know, it's like, but he was cool. He was cool. Like all those guys were incredible to work around and be in the thick of what traditional tattooing, or at least my definition of what modern traditional tattooing is, you know, to be in there and have Ronnie around every Sunday, you know, Rich Fi and the guys from R&D are constantly coming up there every other day. We're smoking cigarettes, telling stories, going back and forth, Sunday dinners, you know, dinners with Tony Polito. Like there was shit that I got to do as a young tattooer that felt very normal to me. But as the years went by, I recognized how not normal it was and how lucky I was to be brought up in that tradition.
Yeah, because they kind of like just brought you into the fold and accepted you 100%.
Oh, yeah, I made money.
Yeah, okay.
It's a part of a greater business plan, honestly, because why don't you... Of course you want a hot chick working in your shop who can do solid tattoos, who can hold her own, don't take no shit. Yes.
See, but you understand that. I understand that. Maybe some of those older guys understand that. But I'm sure this is going to come up a couple times. You and I have already kind of talked about this, of being a female tattoo artist and kind of overcoming some of the hurdles. Yeah. Did you feel like you experienced a lot of that at the beginning?
I still do now. Sometimes people call me a gentleman, and I'm not. It still happens. And I get over it pretty quickly because I'm quick to just say, like, think about why you said that or why you're thinking that. You know, there's some like internalized misogyny that makes people think that these spaces are just for boys, and they're not. And I'm too aware of that to allow anybody to press upon their shit on me. It'll never happen. So is it hard being a woman in tattooing? A little bit. Is it hard being a Black woman and a queer woman in tattooing? 100%. But fuck you. I'm here and I'm doing my job well. So it doesn't really matter to me what comes to that, because it's just a part of my life as a woman in general and a person of color in general. The shit's gonna fly from everywhere, but this is my domain. So you're gonna respect me or you're gonna have to get the fuck out. There's your only option.
I respect that. So now we need to tell everybody the story before that gets blown out of proportion.
Yes. I had to break your balls about it.
So I'll do the setup. I did the episode with Richie Fi. I had clips. I included clips for a podcast that Sharky did with Richie Fi. I misunderstood. I thought they were clips of Richie's podcast. Sharky hits me up and says, hey, use some clips of my podcast. It was me and Richie. I'd, like to get some credit. And I immediately was like, wow, I'm so sorry. I can't change the video, but I will be more than happy to put your Instagram, whatever you want, on the details. I truly apologize because I am usually really good about that. But I saw the name Sharky. I remember Richie being in the clip. I remember you being in the clip now. I don't know why I assumed that you were a guy. I go on my live stream. I'm like, I'm really sorry. I'm a total dick. I use this clip. I apologize to Sharky. Sharky's the one. I'm sorry, dude. This guy reached out. You kept saying
the gentleman. The gentleman.
Yeah, and I'm like,
here we go again.
She hits me up after, and she's like, hey, I'm a woman.
Like strike two.
And I'm like, oh no.
Digging myself deeper and deeper.
Yeah. So it was truly a mistake on my part. I felt horrible, but it also spurred a conversation between the both of us to the point we're here today. So it was worth it.
It did. And I appreciate anyone who's willing to rectify. You were trying to correct that mistake that day, which was big. It was just like, okay, well, now you got to do another one. And that's fine for me. But also it's not unfamiliar to me. People, it doesn't happen so much now, sometimes, but people would look at my Instagram and think I was my now husband's girlfriend and he was the tattooer. And it was just like, that guy is Sharky and he loves this chick. And she's always around taking the pictures. And she's leaning on his bike. That's not her bike. Like, people just, their internalized misogyny and undertones of racism that they do or don't know they have is what's making them think that. And truly, taking on a pen name like Sharky, that's not my name, it's Kimberly, but it was intentional in the beginning because I wanted people to look at the work and not think about anything else. But now 20 years down the line, I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the beginning, you're tattooing. This is like when Facebook was big. So if you use your full name, motherfuckers are looking up your address and shit, and I was like, let's not do that. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I tried really hard to make sure that I didn't have any personal information about me out there because I know exactly what you're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so it legitimately was me trying to rectify, and then I just dug the hole even deeper. So
you did, though.
And
you're doing it now.
Well,
you know what I mean? Like, I had looked through some of your work and I was like, I don't see any people of color here. I don't see ladies here. I was like, so you're already doing a great work by putting me in this place that I exist in and putting it out to the public because you're a historian. So you're doing work right now.
Yeah. So I did have a couple females that I interviewed. Definitely you are my first person of color. That had nothing to do with choices or anything like that. I think it's somebody asked me that the other day. They were like, well, how did you pick some of these people that you've interviewed? And I said, to be fair, it was, I knew somebody that knew somebody that knew somebody, and it just kind of rotated that way. And at that point, it didn't matter if you were a guy, girl, black, white, candy stripe. I was willing to interview you.
Because you're trying to get your platform, and also that's how you learn as a historian. You need to talk to as many people as possible and strike the iron's hot. That makes sense.
And I tried to talk to Jackie a couple times, but every time I got
she's remotely, on the
move. She was super busy.
She's always busy.
I was just like, I think it was at the Philly convention. Some guy was like, "Oh, Jackie, this guy wants to," and I said, "No, dude, don't interrupt her while she's tattooing." I'm like,
right. That's
way more important than anything I have to. But at that point, I would have liked to have. But I just said, you know what, man. I'll down the road. A lot of these legendary people are starting to pass. And,
at an astounding rate, it feels like.
It snagged me twice now. So I ran into Jack Rudy at Norfolk. Not much longer, 6 months, whatever. Passed away. I was trying to set up something with Wes. Wes passes away.
That would have been wonderful.
Yeah, I was trying to do like a joint Wes Clayton interview. I'm on this mission to try to get every old school guy, girl, don't matter, interviewed. It's also about sponging the information and just soaking it up as much as I can.
And it's about keeping a better record. We're now as tattooers scraping by to get information about things and digging stuff out of graves. I've just recently been working with Aaron Dieter Wolf at my tattoo history and paint classes. And so it's like I'm working in tandem with an anthropologist to understand these things and put these pieces back together. Those people didn't have video cameras. We have them in our fucking pockets. And tattooing is an oral tradition. It needs to be written down. And now, we're the generation that's got all the books. The books started coming out in like the late 90s, early 2000s. Now that's a huge thing. Now we have videography going on. And I've done 3 interview series, or 2 that are done. And I'm working on a new one now. I've written the history zines. It's ingrained in you. Once you become addicted to it, even as someone who is an enthusiast, not a tattooer, but a tattooed person, you recognize how important this is. So you just have to get in the room with the people and turn the fucking camera and the mic. That's what I've always done. I've certainly interviewed people who were like, I don't know that I want to do this. And it's like, It's important. You have to do it. So yeah, I would say in terms of Jackie, she's going to be at the Philly convention again. That's in late January, February. Reach out to her, reach out to Annette, say you want to meet up with her, and so they can make the time for you, Yeah. We did an interview with Jackie, and, even though it was really grainy and like all of the equipment wasn't working, you can still hear it, and it's still important to have. Like, right. I always think, no matter what I'm doing in terms of like archiving, if someone came up to me and said, I have an interview with Cap Coleman, it's on a fucking vinyl and it skips every 30 seconds, I would buy it. I would buy it, and I would listen to it every day. Right. So what's the fucking difference? Who cares I'm a tattooer. Yeah. I'm not going to nail the quality, but the intention is there. And if you care, it's there.
So that's kind of how I feel, unfortunately, with the YouTube game. If things
you could make money.
Well, I'm not. But,
no? Oh, shit.
I
can't curse, right? I need to stop doing that.
No, it's all good. Plus, we didn't curse within the first 10 seconds, so we're gold.
Sick.
Yeah, but YouTube is like this fickle thing where if the audio is not perfect or the video is not perfect, it could definitely hurt you a little bit, but I don't care. It's like you just said, I am putting it down and it's going to be cataloged. And, years later, somebody can come back and be like, oh man, in 2025, Buck interviewed Sharky. Look at that, man. She's, 60 years old now. And look at that interview. So that's what I care about, because to me,
you got it.
It's about putting it together as a large group of work. I always say that, God forbid the day that it happens, Ed Hardy is going to be one of those guys that had almost every part of his life documented, and there's probably going to be no stone unturned.
No, and especially because his son is a tattooer as well. And the archives that they have are
insane.
You wouldn't fucking believe it. I worked out at Tattoo City in December, and I got to see the library. Yeah. They got enough there to make 300 more books about Ed Hardy. Pictures I had never seen before.
Wow.
It's incredible. That man's legacy is good. Don't have to worry about it.
Well, speaking of legacies, I know that you wound up being very good friends with Lyle Tuttle.
Miss that guy.
Considered by many to be the first rock star of tattooing.
Yeah, I would agree.
I definitely would agree. I know people that have met him or, hung out with him on a regular basis. I want to pick your brain a little bit and just give me some details. What were your interactions like with him? Was he pretty, good about giving up stories and information, or was it?
Yes. You've met Lyle?
I
got
did
tattooed
not.
by Lyle.
No.
No? Okay. Well, we met at a party. And that's the most Lyle Tuttle thing of all time. He was a party guy, and he was very unaware of his age. So even though we had a very a large gap, you know what I mean? I was in my 30s, he's in his 80s. We got along like gangbusters, and we met actually at a party at Shanghai Kate's house. And I was looking for booze. He was standing by the booze. And I was friends with Christine Nelson. Do you know her? She used to work at Noka Oya. She's badass lady tattooer, been tattooing for a really long time, since Mike Brown tattooing, and hangs out Nani and Anna. That's that crew. The Hawaiian ladies. And Lyle loved these ladies. And so I asked them if I could get by. I'm going to go get a drink. And I said, I was like, hey, we met before. You don't really remember it, I'm sure. But we talked on the phone about machines. He's like, when, darling? And I was like, oh, when I was working with Christine Nelson on the road. He's like, you said the magic word. That's okay. I've met a normal person. We're going to hang out tonight. And we spent the entire night drinking and smoking cigarettes. And the point of the party that Kate had was, I guess, to raise money. I don't know. She was handing around a jar and she was like, you're here, put money in it. And I did. Everyone did. And she had herself, Jackie Gresham drove down, and Lyle. And at the end of the night, everybody got on like it was a picnic table. It was the backyard of her fucking house. And talked about tattooing. And he didn't want to do it. His whole time, he was like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to give this information to these people for free. And I'm like, yeah, fuck that. Don't even go up there and talk. And when it was his time to go up there, he was very quiet. But we got along so well, and we had such a close-knit group of friends already. He just immediately was like, hey, can you do me a favor? Which is exactly that's how someone's about to take you in. And he had me like picking up stuff from the store in San Marcos and sending it out to him in Ukiah to send friends, just doing a bunch of like grunt work. And we talk on the phone, and he was a jokester. He loved to tell old man jokes, but he also loved, obviously, tattoo history and machinery, all things that I was very curious about. So he was real quick to take time with people and have conversations when he felt like it was valid. So yeah, we carried on like that for a while. And then finally, I wanted to join the NTA. And in order to join the NTA, you needed 2 sponsors or 1 founding member to sponsor you. And he was a founding member. So I asked him. And he was like, of course. And then, I went and did that convention with him, picked him up from the airport. And then from there, it was like, okay, cool. You can start doing guest spots at my shop. So it was special to have that relationship with Lyle, because even though he's known as the rock star tattooer, he was incredibly friendly man and like a worldly man. Like, obviously he tattooed on all 7 fucking continents, but I mean, he could be friends with everyone. And that was a part of his vibe. He used to say a stranger is a friend that you haven't met yet. And he carried on that way. But he also, I can't think of what that guy's name. It's not the Ayatollah Khomeini, but it's like one of those dudes over there who has bodyguards that are only ladies. You know who I'm talking about? Gaddafi, is that his name? There's a dude overseas, dictator guy, and everyone on his team is a lady.
Oh, wow.
All the bodyguards, chicks with guns. That was very much Lyle. He was a feminist through and through. He always said that the feminist movement and women are the reason he was who he was. He was like, I mean, whatever, say whatever you want to say about the Janis Joplin thing, but the Janis Joplin thing is what made him as famous as it did, with getting on the Rolling Stone cover. A lot of his early tattooing was women, little flowers on the butts and the teats. So he always wanted ladies on their team, or his team. And so this team was called the Mama Monkeys, and he'd give you a certificate, and, you could hang it on the wall, and, so he made me a Mama Monkey. And it was one of the greatest relationships. I was very privileged to have that in my career, to be able to travel and work in his shop and stay at the apartment. You walking over to Tattoo City with Lyle, it's all right. I don't have to really worry about anything. Yeah. But he was incredible to everyone that he knew. He treated everyone like that. And I think if you talk to some people who knew him longer, maybe if you interviewed Anna or Nani, Diane Mansfield, the women who really spent a lot of time with him and knew him since the 70s, you would hear some really incredible stories. But he was very encouraging of my career, always wanted to put me in a spotlight or in a place where I could be seen, because he understands that old school mentality. Like Peter Poulos, for example. you know, he put those ladies in the front because he knew one was going to fuck with him because he's behind them. You know what I mean? Like, men understood that. And so he was very much, he just conducted himself in that same way.
I heard Pete was an animal, like badass.
Oh, Pulis, yeah.
Yeah.
Rest his soul, honestly. But that's a different type of tattooing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
Which is a part of our history, honestly. You know?
Yeah, it is. And, you know, that's kind of what brought me into it, being kind of part of that scene, the biker scene.
Yes.
I know you ride, so that's cool.
Not anymore. I got married, have stepkids, and, you know, they're like super smart. So they'll walk up to you and say, like, well, you know what the statistics are? I'm driving, like, you're going to explode. And I'm like, okay. So, yeah, I stopped riding a couple of years ago, and I got a camper van. So I kind of moved from that to having the live-in van to get around on the road.
I heard you doing a story where you said you jumped on the bike and just like solo rode to New Mexico or something.
I did, to go do a guest spot. The mountain called me. I'm not fucking kidding. I just had a draw to Taos. I don't know what the fuck that was about. And so I was like, I guess I'll look up what tattoo shop is there. Taos Tattoo is there. And I was like, okay, legit. I gotta go, you know? And I was real wet behind the fucking ears because it was December or early January. And in Texas, it's riding weather 24/7. But in the fucking mountain, it's snowing. Mm-hmm. It was, I almost died on that trip. Like, I got caught in a snowstorm. Riding in the snow on a bobber, not made for this. And I had to stop at the Dollar Tree, and I bought all the pajamas and shit, and I cut them up, and I put all of the sleeves on like muffs, and then I doubled them up on my knees, which were frozen, and my knuckles frozen. And then I put a bunch like on the actual bars. So when I slipped my hands in, you know, it was like doing doubles with 40s. You just stuck in there and just riding like that. Yeah, it was terrible. But yeah, I did because I wanted, really, I was ideating, right? This is like death kind of shit. But I didn't care. I wanted an adventure. I wanted to feel something. And I love those bikes. As a biker, you know that there's a freedom. Freedom means lots of things. But that feeling on a bike and seeing nothing, just stretches and stretches of road that don't fucking end. Towns with people you'll never know. But when they see you pull on a bike, oh, you need a drink. You got to pull it. It's a whole... I was very addicted to that. It matched the way I was living already, you know? Yeah, but that was a wild one.
it kind of fits your personality, though, too, right? Like, I mean, you grew up in New York. You're like
I grew up in Jersey.
Jersey? Okay.
Yeah.
But you were New York, New Jersey, especially North Jersey.
Oh, it's all the same thing. It's a tri-state, yeah.
Right. And you were like a metal chick, like you were into the metal scene, and still am.
I'll fuck your ass up. Yeah, you don't want to see me coming in the pit because I'm short. You know what I mean? I'm gonna miss that, and I'm just gonna be climbing up your fucking back, and I'm gonna kick you.
Like a spider monkey.
I am. Yes, absolutely.
That's cool though, man. Like I try to explain it to people all the time that don't ride. The feeling that you get, and it's just, unless you ride, you don't get it. It's no. The only other thing that's going to understand what it's like to ride is the dog that's hanging its head out the window, you know, tongue wagging. That's it. Yep. I mean, especially, doing long trips and stuff like that, where you're just kind of like in the zone and just chugging along. I don't ride as much as I used to, but, I still do when I can. We can get in. I want to get in more of your history, but like let's just talk sidetrack real quick again. You know, the prices of tattooing seems to be one of those things that is a hot button issue on Instagram, Facebook, whatever, TikTok, where these people are charging these like crazy outlandish prices. Yeah,
it's not for me. It's a no dog. I think that things need to be accessible. And I honestly feel like the people who pay outlandish prices for tattoos, I'm talking about, and I'm naming names here, you're going to Bang Bang and you're getting a tattoo that's big and you're paying $1,000. It's not about the tattoo anymore. It's about a status symbol. You're looking for status. This is like a kink. You want to say, oh, you'll never believe how much you paid for this. It's like, cool. I could have literally gone to someone else and got that for 1/3 the price and probably gone to the bar and got some barbecue with them afterwards. I think that tattooing should be accessible. I like to, even for someone like me who does really large scale work, my clientele are regular fucking people. They're blue collar people. And when you understand these people have been saving up for 6 months, 7 months, 2 years, I've heard everything, just to be in the chair with me, fuck you. I would never, like, I couldn't sleep at night. You got to keep it. I've been at, and I struggled to do it, but moved up to $200 an hour, and I refuse to go any higher. I've been to spots where they're like, okay, we charge $300 an hour. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to take a pay cut on this trip, because I'm not charging them more than $2, but I'm going to give you the cut, and I'll even throw in an extra $100 to make. I would rather be in the deficit than overcharge someone for something that's existed for a millennia and try to treat it like it's some new fucking laser that's going to take you to the moon. You're going to have your tattoo. You're going to live and die with it. Please don't spend millions of dollars, thousands of dollars, $20,000 for anesthesia to get a back.
Yep.
I'm so anti-capitalist. So I'm like, no, I hate people who overcharge.
And those are the numbers I'm talking about. I'm talking about like those crazy, obnoxious, like, what the hell are you thinking numbers? And, you know, I think that also comes into play with Justin and I like to call them media tattoos. So
that's a good word.
They're the tattoos that look good. You know, the day the tattoo's done, the guy snaps the picture, posts it on the Instagram or whatever, TikTok. And then like 6 months down the road, maybe even less, looks like dog shit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why? Why would you go? You know, there's a couple of influencers that have done that. And then they got caught in public and somebody snapped a picture of the one guy. I'm not going to name him. And it looked like complete crap. But
yeah, no doubt. Know what? It's a grift.
He got that media tattoo.
Yeah, and he got that payday too. You know, you can't get a refund. Yeah, they're just, and I feel like tattooers like that as well are not here for the long run. So they're trying to get their money, cash out, and then they're going to go move to the next big thing, whatever the next big thing is on social media, fucking sucking robot dicks. I don't know.
Wait, hold up.
They're not in it for this. So and it's also rich people shit. Like, I can't connect to this.
Me either. I'm a blue collar, you know, I don't have a blue collar job, but you know, but yeah, no, I get it. Let's swing that back to the old school American traditional. I mean, that to me is when you're getting into that realm of those crazy numbers, you're breaking away from that. And that's
1,000,000%.
It blows my mind when you hear stories of, like, you know, Charlie Wagner buried in a pauper's grave, and like half of his shit got chucked into a dumpster and whatever.
Yep.
And it's like, you know, those guys, Burt Grimm, like any of the old guys, they were in it to make money to feed their families. They didn't want to be this rock star charging obnoxious amounts of money. No. They did it for the love of the game.
Yeah.
You know, they had their own little quirks, their own little ways of selling, like, you know.
No, they were circus people, so yeah. They're taught to put on a show.
I think that's the most important part, because when you look at it from a tradition aspect, you have to realize that it came from the circus, the sideshow stuff, where the guys, girls were, you know, come on in, step right up, get this tattoo, see the tattooed lady. And, you know, they would tell stories and why you were getting tattooed. And it was about the experience, not about the tattoo.
It was also a grift. Yeah. Because most of those stories, unfortunately, take Burt Grimm, for example. It's an easy one. He's tattooing as a young man. He was like most tattooers started as a teenager, ran away from home, was tattooing out of a hotel, whatever that guy's, Wild Bill, yeah, the circus guy.
Buffalo Bill.
He finds him, Buffalo Bill, there he is. And so instead of introducing him as just a young man who tattoos, a big part of the circus industry was making up stories about indigenous peoples because it was a curiosity. So it's all based in a history of racism, unfortunately, but yeah, it's fucking North America. So what they would do, the men, they would go into these circuses, and this went back, way before Burt Grimm. They go in the circus and say, I was kidnapped. I was kidnapped by indigenous people, or they would use the word savages, and they tattooed my whole body. And it was against my will, but I also learned how to do it. So now that you've looked at my body for 50 cents, if you want to know more, for $1, you come back and I'll give you one of these souvenirs. So they would make up these stories based in racism, and that's where all of that comes from. Then later, women figure out that they're able to make more money as a tattooed oddity rather than doing the hoochie coochie show. And that's where you have people like Millie Hull switching from that, going to Wagner, getting tattooed in her whole body in less than a month. It was like 3 weeks they did that bodysuit. And then here comes the introduction of the tattooed women, often having to sell those same stories. So yeah, the circus part about it, I don't, or I guess I find pause with people saying like, yeah, that was the beginning of it. Because the beginning of it, especially in North America or everywhere, is the indigenous peoples who were tattooing there already. Even someone like Gus Wagner. Everyone talks about Gus Wagner, forefather of tattooing, the last hand poker tattooer. But when you read his story, you recognize that he learned from indigenous people in Alaska, Borneo, Java, Africa. And when you look at his collection, because it just recently went up for bid a couple of months ago, the Bray and Company. So you can see it. His whole collection is African masks and bells and voodoo stuff. And it's like the circus part, if this is a 20-part series, that's like season 19. Middle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's so much before that brought into that culture, and much of early modern North American tattoo traditions are based in those indigenous cultures. They were bastardized and made all these weird stories in the circus. Here comes the erasure. Here comes the electronic tattoo machine. So now you can seriously commodify this, right? You could do it fast. What used to take an hour, do in 5 minutes. And these motherfuckers don't have all the colors either, so it was a limited palette.
Right.
And then that's where we kick off. We're now a generation. We're like the bastard babies of that. And we hold much reverence for it, right? Like, as a traditional tattooer, it's like, well, these are my roots. But for me, that most of my research is based in going further back. There's so much further. Like right now I'm working with some people to figure out, I did figure out who taught Milton Hildebrandt to tattoo. I just need to figure out more information about this person. I don't know their ethnicity, their age, but I do know like what city they were from and their nickname. And that's where my focus is. I want to tell the unsung, unknown stories. Like recently I uncovered the story of Valeria Watson. That's what my last scene was about. She was a tattooer in the 70s. She was a Black woman. She was married to Dale Orman. She was in the Hells Angels. She won the first Best Overall Female award with Lyle Tuttle at the first tattoo convention ever, the one in Houston.
Wow.
In 78, 76, 78?
76.
76, thank you. And so that's where my historical focus is, because a lot of our history is told through the lens of men, Caucasian men. So those are the voices that will be amplified. Now you have a new addition to this lineage. I can trace my lineages back to Burt Grimm and O'Reilly. With that, now you have this enthusiastic Black woman, a part of it, who's going to tell those other missing pieces of the story. I feel like that's not the question you asked, but that's the answer you're going to get.
That's that's perfect, because I have been doing this on Wednesday nights where I've been doing like the first, professional tattoo artist in England, the first professional tattoo artist in the United States, blah, blah,
hate that
blah.
word.
I know, but I have to say it that way because I also say this is excluding obvious indigenous people that were tattooing way before any of these people. And it's not to skip over that. It's just, I guess I've been more focused on what we can call modern day tattooing, which would be from like the Wagners forward, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, let's say 1870 forward.
There you go. Like, George Burchett, Sutherland McDonald, those type forward. Just as well as I do, even going that far back, you still have a really hard time finding information on people that were named or well-known named tattooers. I have somebody that keeps asking me to do an episode on Lou the Jew Alberts.
Okay.
There's just not a lot of information to gather.
Yeah, you'll get the information from the people who knew him.
Right.
And I think there's one flash book.
Right. Yeah. So it's like, you can only do so much with what you have. Now you're going even a step further with talking about like anthropological. Jesus, why can't I speak tonight?
You got it. Because it's late, folks. It's late at night right now.
Type of people though that that's their main focus, right? Like that would be somebody that would be like I did an episode on Ötzi, Iceman. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Obviously, that's way back, way further back than anybody that I'm talking about. But it's still very important. I'd like to dig in and try to figure out some of the Egyptian stuff because,
it's been done. The work is being done. People like Matt Loder and Aaron Dieter Wolf and Lars K. I can't remember his last name right now. But they've written books upon books upon books and studies and studies. It's all there, and we're all connected. Can I pick your brain for a second? Yeah. You know what I'm talking about. That book's great.
I've actually reached out to him when I was doing the George Burchett episode because I had conflicting information. And
interesting.
I was like, hey, Matt, this is where I'm getting. And he said, well, some of that information is coming from the supposed memoirs that there were a lot of artistic liberties taken.
Yes.
So, I'm a firm believer of if I don't know, I say I don't know, or I will say this is my interpretation because I don't want to be that asshole that, that guy thinks he knows everything and he's wrong. Well, no, I'm not that person at all. I'm learning just like everybody else.
Yeah, that's important. All right, here's your picking up the brain question. Mm-hmm. When you say professional tattooer, because you were saying that's how you're using, or that's the platform you're using to define the timeline that you're working in, how would you define professional?
So when I say professional tattooer, I mean like the first guy in England that had an established shop was like, they had to create the title tattooer in the phone book because it had never been in the phone book before. So that's when I say professional, that's kind of how I mean it. It's almost like an established business. You're here. You're not a traveling guy. You have a shop somewhere. You're now in the phone book, maybe even licensed.
So it's surrounding the idea of capitalism.
Yeah.
Okay.
So which isn't probably the best way to put it, but that was the only way in my little feeble mind that I could, separate the two of, you know, we have obviously indigenous people that have been tattooing for thousands and thousands of years, right? That, you know, may have traded for this or traded for that, which would make them, I guess, professional, right? They're bartering
Well, how would you
for trade.
define the word professional? Just in general, what is a professional?
Like, you know, you're an established business to trade and commerce.
Okay, yeah. So a professional, by definition, is a person who does a job and that job exclusively funds their lifestyle. It's the only thing they do. They're a professional blacksmith. They're a professional doorbell maker. So for me, when I hear the word professional, it doesn't necessarily like mitigate itself to capitalism. Because what about the people who came a generation before that and they've been tattooing in that city their entire life? They've come from a lineage people. There's no phone books yet, but everyone knows them by name. People travel. To me, there's no difference. I feel like a lot of my work is surrounding that or breaking that thought system that there was a this and a that. It's all one linear line that connects directly to each other. It's not
Makes
like,
sense.
you know, it's not like Samuel O'Reilly or any of these guys just said like, I'm going to tattoo and I'm making up myself. They're encouraged by, taught by, honestly, the people they met on their travels in other countries that constantly get left out of the book,
Right.
you know, and then also made caricatures of, right? Like a part of American traditional tattooing is the Native American head, the woman in the headdress. Like, how ironic is that's a part of something we tattoo in other people's bodies, but don't give those people credit for what they've put into this industry. Yeah, as another historian, I always like to bring that perspective to people that are working in that same field and challenge them to think about that. This is what you're going to come to realize. It's about erasure. People who are coming here during that time, they're also colonizing, and they're in the Philippines and on the, you know, in these islands, the indigenous people here and in Canada, the law made it illegal for them to practice tattoo. How ironic is that you have these people coming, making it illegal for you to speak your language, illegal for you to tattoo, while also commodifying your indigenous practices and drawing pictures of it and selling it to people. They're forever connected. It's something new. We need to rewrite that, you know? We're working on it.
We have big name tattoo artists that everybody knows their name. Burt Graham, Lyle Tuttle, Cap Coleman, Sailor Jerry. But in each town in America or throughout the world, let's say, there is probably some local legend everybody knows.
Yes.
But next state over, maybe they don't know who that person is.
The local god.
And they're just as important.
That's the best way to be.
They're just as important as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, because they're serving community. The idea of tattoo celebrity is very new, obviously, because we have just come into the century where we can talk about global going-ons together. So it's like, oh, this person's nationally or worldwide known because there's newspapers now.
Right.
That's why everybody knows about you, the news and journalists that didn't exist 100 years prior to that. Every tattooer was their own local god, and the family lineages were broken off from that via capitalism, which I obviously hate. I keep bringing it up. But yeah, that irks me because it's broken our connection to the deeper parts of tattooing. Most of us, and when I learn more about this, it makes sense. I was listening to Aaron talk, quick example. I love coils. I only use coils. I'm hard-headed. I don't have a problem with pins, but you're not going to catch me using one. I'm addicted to the way that they sound. I think that's important. I feel very strange when I walk into a shop and I don't hear this hum. Or, you know, when the scab choirs all together and all the machines are humming, you know that feeling. You feel it in your chest. Same thing at a tattoo convention. When you walk in there sometimes, you don't hear nothing.
Dude,
it's like,
blows
I don't
my
want to be
mind.
here.
Yep.
I recently just learned that some indigenous tattoo tools, they were putting like bells and like rattlesnakes, their butts, on it so it would make noise when they were poking and tattooing, because the noise was a part of like zoning people out and using these vibrations. And I was like, I fucking knew it. Coils are important. Like,
Yeah.
since the beginning of time, sound has been a part of tattooing. Pins are the devil. But when you understand those things, there's so much connection.
Yeah, it actually happened to Justin and I. We went to a convention up in North Jersey, and the first 3 rows, we were like, we don't hear anything. What the hell's going on? And it was
very
everybody's.
strange.
And then we turned the corner, and then there was all the old school, like the Pirates. You know what I mean? It was like Baba and Snake Eyes and Jesse Martinek and a bunch of the old heads that were like, and I was like, here we go. Here's our people, right? This is our people.
Yeah.
You started to touch on it, and I definitely want to give you time to talk about it, because I know that you're deep doing the history stuff, and I know you have some projects that you're working on. Do you want to get into that? Like, do you want to talk about some of the stuff that you're doing?
For sure. Where do I start? Let's start with the tattoo history and paint. So that's the thing that I'm doing currently that I feel like takes up most of my time, because I do it once a month, every 4th Sunday at a local place here called 666 Social. It's amazing. It's a LGBTQ coffee shop. They do punk shows there, Rocky Horror. They just got a room that you could fucking rent out for whatever you want. And I started doing this because there was an organization cropping up in my town, a part of a bigger business model called Tattoo and Booze. You know what that is?
No.
Oh, wait till you hear this. So, tattoo or paint and sip. You know what those are? Yeah. So same thing, except these people give the attendees tattoo machines and fake skin and your booze, 20 minutes, tell you how the machine works, set it up, and then you're allowed to tattoo freely for like an hour and a half. Crazy shit, And they're doing it in Austin and San Antonio. They do it all over the world. But when I found out they were doing it in San Marcos, I got fucking pissed. And so I tried to get a protest together. I tried to get all the tattooers together. It just didn't fucking work out. But I was able to speak to the owner of 666, and I told her, like, look, if you get rid of these people, I fucking promise you that I will do something better than this and fill up the spot that you're losing from not having them there. And she called me on it, and I kept that promise to her. Because I recognize she's not a tattooer, so she didn't know what she was doing. And she was just trying to do something for the community, for young kids, punk kids, LGBTQ kids, marginalized peoples wanting to learn about tattooing. And I'm like, hit the brakes. You don't need a machine in your hand to appreciate tattooing. The tattooing part is like the easiest part of tattooing. It's all the other shit. So I started these classes, and what I do is I pick starting in 1870s. Right now, for this section, we're doing 1870s to like 1950. Pick a prominent figure, and I teach flash literacy, the secret language of tattooing, and show them how that connects to their world today. Because people talk a lot about, like, they don't know what fucking flash is anymore. The whole world is confused. People are putting red strikeouts to their flash and don't want to do it. Like, this shit makes no sense. So I'm showing them, like, okay, this is Burt Grimm, and here is this tiger head that you've seen a million times, and here's where the tiger head originated from. And what I do is I play music from the time period, and I teach watercolor to get them off their fucking iPads, paint this flash while I audio tell you 2-hour class, and I teach the history of that person.
Okay.
People walk out of that class, and the last thing they want to fucking do is tattoo. And that's a part of it. You know what I mean? It's like, but they have such a huge appreciation for it. The big goal is to work in tandem with Charlie Cartwright's Tattoo Heritage Project, which I've been in contact with them. They want to make an auxiliary board for me. So after a year, I can take the show on the road and help raise funds for the museum that they're hopefully going to open soon. One day. We need more money. Send money.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I do. And now I've added a lecture series to that. So that's why I had Aaron Dieter Wolf come out and we rented out a space in the museum. And this is all community funded, by the way. The tickets for this, again, blue collar, they cost $10. The $10 go towards all the paint supplies we use for Tat and Paint. The $10 for the lecture we did, it went for renting the space and for paying for the booze and food. And we got a projector and donated it to the museum. Sharky's about that shit. So that's my baby right now. I'm also working on another interview series called Beloved. Have you ever seen True Love? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Oh, you've got to. I'll send you a link. I love it. It's like I watch that shit on repeat.
Okay.
Very often in my early career. And I love this. It was this guy, maybe he's French, I'm not sure. But he would go around to these tattoo shops and he got like a full sleeve done by tattooers that he was in love with. So, it's like Nikki Balls and Burt Crack. Actually, he got like tattooed by everyone at Smith Street, but it was beautiful. And so very inspired by that style, I was like, I want to talk to tattooers that I really love. There are people out there that I love. Interview them in a much more intimate setting than what I normally do, which is real like fast-paced and chaotic. And also take their portraits. So far I did Andrea and I did Roni Zulu, which was amazing. It was fucking amazing. So that's a project. And then also the historical writing is, that series is called I Sing the Body Electric. I'm cooking up the next one. Basically, I'm working on probably 5 big leads right now. And the one that heads out next will be the next one. But the first one was on Valeria Watson. It sold 400 copies. The remainder of the copies are on Mr. Flash Machine. He bought the last 50. Okay. And it literally changed a trajectory in tattoo history. Because finally this person's story was fully written and she was in magazines, she was on covers, she was on postcards. She had a flash book, and now she's like literally coming out of retirement. She's going to be guesting here in February and tattooing again for the first time. And we're trying to get her book republished. So yeah, my projects are very much entrenched in tattoo history, but I want to tell stories that have not been told. I've already done the bit about telling the stories people know, right? Especially with Welcome to the Backrooms. That was incredible. So what's next? This is what I feel is appropriate, especially in telling a broader story of tattooing and not just focusing on like 1870 and forward. That's such a small part of the global tattooing practice.
So you're saying you have a good reception at these events that you hold, but in general, do you feel like a lot of newer tattooers or people that are getting tattooed just don't really care as much about history?
Yeah, they definitely don't, and I could care less. Yeah. Tattooing has to speak to you. You can't force it upon anybody, but I can go to bed at night feeling good, knowing that I did my part. Whether you receive it or not, that's up to you. You're missing out. Yeah. People who have just jumped in this and think like they're the fucking king shit of Turd Hill. Congratulations, you're not. Someone's done what you've done and probably better before you. But that doesn't change the richness of it because more people don't care about it. There's people like us, more than enough tattoo historians and book writers and videographers doing the work. And sometimes you don't see the fruits of what you're doing in your lifetime. The work we're doing right now might be for someone 200 years in the future.
I wouldn't call myself a historian. I would say I'm more of a storyteller. Because I think that there's people out there, by calling me a historian, it waters down people like Matt Lauder, who's a true tattoo historian. I mean, that dude has, made his life's work about it. And, I give mad respect to people like that. I'd like to be there someday, but I'm still learning. And
this is the start.
You gotta kick it off somewhere,
Yeah. How many years have you been doing this?
So I've been getting tattooed since 92. Somewhere around the mid 90s is when I started to really pay attention to the stories. through, different tattoo artists and whatnot that I was friends with or would get tattooed from. I really didn't start like doing this as a channel. This is just hit like a little over 2 years.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's tight.
It's a lot of work. Thank you, though.
Yeah, I know how hard editing is, and like I've seen your videos and I've watched 2 of your live streams, and I was like, yeah, I don't know how they did that. That's pretty. Yeah, hell yeah. Like this guy's about it.
I am. I mean, I truly want to soak up and sponge as much as I can off of everybody. That's why I go to a convention, man. Right to the old guys. Like, I want to make sure.
And they love it. They want to talk about it.
They do, because I feel like a lot of the older generation guys might not have got as much respect as they deserved.
No, it's actually watering down even more as we go along. I talk to my friends about that, and I'm like, I feel like my generation of tattooers were like bastard lost boys. And that's why we're so angry and we can be so nasty online, because another generation got to come in the game after us and we never got any respect, and sometimes that hurts, because you're like, it's my turn.
Yeah.
I'm going to be able to nurture these people. And they're like, fuck you. I bought all my equipment on Amazon and I learned on YouTube.
Right. Like they just totally like leapfrogged over that part where it was like, yeah, no, I get it.
And so be it. If you can't stop it, that's fine. It's just a flavor of tattooing. It's a new flavor. People who like this flavor of ice cream, they're here. That's why you have a platform. That's why you're able to do this. People are interested in this. That's why my tattoo history paints, they always sell out. People go to it. People still want it. But the algorithm, this little bullshit fake box, it doesn't speak to that because it's not real.
Right. We talked about your travels. What drew you to American traditional?
That's the only kind of tattoo I thought you could have. I didn't know that there were other styles growing up, especially, going to Jersey Shore, New York, and Philly. That's all that you saw. So I didn't know. I mean, I knew that you could, if you were rich, you could get a Japanese bodysuit. Outside of that, you went in the shop, you picked the flash off the wall, and that was it. So when I started tattooing, which was quite accidental, like I was working in a tattoo shop and then started to tattoo my boyfriend, and then someone saw it and got me a job. So I just was like, I'm going to tattoo flash. That's what you're supposed to do. And that was the lineage. And I still do that. I tattoo flash because I have a massive, insane collection of historical flash as well as acetates. So I do acetate tattooing here regularly. That was the core of my being. I just wanted to be a torchbearer. I wasn't trying to make anything new. I wanted to repeat the same motifs. And that's what it was also working in Queens. Motherfuckers they did not like my quirky shit at all. Because I was trying to do the stuff I do now then at Pete and Kubo's. And they'd be like, Sharky, this fucking shit. You got the guy sitting out in the waiting room for 2 fucking hours. Is burrito. It was like nobody, they want their boxer baby. They want that boxer baby to look just like their cousin Joey's that they saw last week. Except maybe you could put more gold in it and mine look better. So initially, that was my focal point, to carry on tradition quite literally and only tattoo from flash. And I was doing that quite well. I used to only do full color traditional, like New York style. I mean, up until maybe 5 years ago. Classic Tattoo, the shop that I was working at before I started this Lonely Hearts Club, everybody there did full color traditional. And I thought that was kind of cool. It had the Spider Mochi vibe. It was like, we're all going to use the same colors. And we all were using the same liners. And so we're all like one. And then one day I was like, well, really what happened is one day someone walked into the front room and they're like, I want a rose. And everybody was like, oh. And I was like, this is stupid. Any of us could do that rose. Who cares? Don't even look at the portfolio. Just, fucking spit and let that person do it. And I knew that I needed to separate myself from that. So first, I took my color palette down, which was stupid. But I was like, let's just do gold, like keep it real traditional. Black, gold, red, brown. And people weren't buying it. They were like, well, if you have yellow, then can't you do orange? And if you've got orange, then you can put white in it. So that didn't work at all. So one day I just threw away all the colors, literally. And I would only do black tattoos. And I suffered a huge monetary like deficit for that. But I knew something was going to come out of it because I like black shit. I like scary shit. So I was like, I'm going to attract more of these clients. And all of a sudden, the requests for bouquets of the grandmothers and the aunts' flowers and all the cutesy shit, it stopped coming. And people were like, I want back pieces of Satan. I want dead kitty heads. Mwah. So the black work took off. But then that was the start of like having to learn all over again. So now I'm calling spiral tattoo. And I'm like, I need to spend time with Jared. I need to spend time with Leo. I need to understand this black work game a little better. Once you dive into that, you start recognizing all the indigenous practices, the ornamental aspects, and it was like a bite in the ass by a poisonous snake. It was fully into me, and and has led me to where I am now. And having a private studio with nobody telling me what the fuck to do, I can do all the weird shit I want, and people love it. I've not seen a slow season. I don't know what anybody's talking about with that shit. And I stay on the road too.
I know that you just said that you were like super tight with Lyle, and you're considered to be like a very, very good friend, best. Personal stuff aside, do you have a favorite tattooer, like style wise?
Do they have to be alive?
No.
Stoney St. Clair is my favorite tattooer.
Really?
Of all time. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Hands down. And sometimes that will change. Sometimes I'll say it's Coleman, simply because of the black. You know what I mean? Like getting someone a compliment or to compliment my work and be like, oh, it's Coleman style. But Stoney St. Clair's work, it was quirky. If you look at his flash, a lot of shit is silly. You got the helicopter guy with the skull head. And I don't know. It was just so wild. And if you look at some of it, it has very like Borneo styles to it. He'll have these like crazy black, squiggly, tribal looking shit. He painted velvet. He was, to me, that's some of my favorite tattooing to look at.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good pull. I don't know if you would have asked me to guess, I wouldn't have. I don't know if I would have said that.
Yeah.
No particular reason. He's
my favorite. I'm a traditional tattoo girl through and through. So usually when someone asks like, who's your favorite tattooer? I was like, there's people that are living that I love, but I like the old school stuff. And I have lots of great old tattoos. I have a Stan Moskowitz tattoo. I got Gill Montie tattooed. Shanghai Kate tattooed me. Lyle tattooed me. Those tattooers and Ronnie's tattooed me a couple of times. He did my Pete Giaquinto memorial tattoo.
Oh, nice.
Those were my favorite tattoo experience, And then I have other tattoos done by, like Jason June and I don't even know, just like tattooers who do like art. Love wearing it, but the stories aren't silly, I don't have a silly Thomas Hooper story, but I got silly Stan Moskowitz stories. Yeah. There's a different vibe that goes on there. I love that silly pirate drunken shit.
I let Marvin tattoo me at the Philly show.
Oh, awesome.
And he warned me. He was like, I don't tattoo that well these days. And I said, it don't matter, man. I just want to, it's the experience I want to make,
Absolutely. It's so funny because Stan said the same thing to me. He was just like, he said something weird. He was just like, just before he went in, circles and straight lines, Sharky. It's the bane of all us tattooers. I can't really do them. And it was like, oh, this whole tattoo is circles and straight lines. Okay, fine.
Nice. If people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Oh, through Instagram. You can find me. That's right here on the bottom. Sharky Before the Wrath Comes. That's all Instagram is anymore, right? It's a business card. And from
Yeah.
there in the bio, you can go to the website, read the Google reviews. I update it every day, multiple times a day. So you're always seeing the most current work on there. That's the fastest way. And also if you go to the shop numbers on there, you can call me up and talk to me live.
All right, one more final question and a trick question. If you could tattoo anywhere in the world, where would you tattoo?
That's a great question. Anywhere where I can make a living. It doesn't matter. Yeah, no locale. Where I have a good community and I can make a living, No
Right
doubt. I feel like I've tattooed everywhere I wanted to. So
Okay.
I'm happy, I'm almost 50. I'm not asking for much. The moon. Actually, I take it back. I'd like to be the first tattooer to get on one of fucking Elon Musk's exploding ships and tattoo in space.
We have to go there first, so.
I know. Oh, we could talk about these conspiracies later. Oh my God. Love it.
I figured I'd throw that in there. I'm a
Kubrick fan. I think that was all in studio.
Yeah, I think if you've been to the Arizona desert, you've been to the moon. So there you go.
Absolutely. You've seen it. This was fun.
I appreciate you hanging out with me, man. It was such a great conversation. I feel like we could probably sit here for hours.
I know. I was looking. I was like, oh, it's almost been 2 hours. Oh shit.
No, it's all good. It's all good. I appreciate you spending time with me. Man, since we can do this remote, I'd be more than happy to get together another time. If
you just call me up, whatever you need. I always want to help out people who are trying to preserve tattoo history. It's very important.
For everybody out there that took the time to watch us, I want to thank you for stopping by and hanging out with us. And if you want to get a hold of Sharky, make sure you hit up her on Instagram. And we will catch you all later.
Absolutely. Have a good night or morning.
Or morning.